feel like this might be a little too classy of a dress for what we're talking about today, but yeah, screw it. I only barely knew that there was a He-Man and She-Ra Christmas special. I do remember seeing a bunch of people make videos about it, but I don't think I really watched them. I mean, if I did, I probably watched them a super long time ago. I think the one that I vaguely remember was when Worst Movies on Netflix did a video on it years ago. And by all means, go check out that review. It's hilarious as always.
There's this craptastic Christmas song. Everything is fucking dick-shaped. Everything.
Everything is dick-shaped. That is great.
And just as a heads up, I didn't grow up with He-Man. He-Man was obviously a product of the 80s. I'm a super, super late 90s kid. More of a 2000s kid, really. So I didn't grow up watching reruns of He-Man or anything. That being said, I still felt like I needed to watch this for myself because I kept seeing people talk about it, and I was like, it's like when you first hear that there's a Star Wars holiday special, which I have seen that. Honestly, I just thought it was incredibly boring. There was a few things that were kind of funny bad, but I mean, even as a baffling, what the fuck, I can't believe this really exists type of product of its time, I don't know, didn't really find a whole lot to say. However, I don't think the same thing could be said for He-Man and She-Ra's Christmas special. And after all, I once had to talk about the Masters of the Universe movie for a movie marathon video that I did for Blockbusters, so yeah, let's go full circle and let's talk about one of the most what the fuck Christmas specials to ever exist, starring He-Man and She-Ra. Now, right off the bat, one thing I gotta point out that is a reoccurring issue with the entire special is I'm pretty sure this might be a thing in the original show. This is just a kind of a weird thing that pops up in a lot of these like old 80s Saturday morning cartoons. But you'll have characters interacting, and you have not only incredibly stilted dialogue and line deliveries from the voice actors, but there's just this weird, like, someone will say something, and then the person responds like a minute or so later.
I think purple would look good up there, Peekaboo. Try it.
All around, you just have these like weird line deliveries where it's just, and just in general, all throughout the special, you just have these really weird, stilted line deliveries. Anyway, basic rundown of what He-Man and She-Ra is. It was basically this fantasy action cartoon that was made to promote toys in the 80s. It was about, Prince Adam and his alter ego is He-Man, and they would have to fight a bunch of bad guys. And the main bad guy of the show was obviously Skeletor, who was this half man, half skeleton. And then She-Ra was basically the same kind of premise, but it was aimed more towards girls. And, He-Man flew around on this, like, motorbike type of thing that could fly through the sky. And She-Ra, well, she got the Pegasus that flew around, which for some reason has a big, brawny man type voice.
We could never have found it without Mamista.
What's that?
Took me by surprise. I didn't even expect them to give that thing a voice. It's like, okay, that's just her animal companion that she flies around on. But no, they took it a step further. Not only does it talk, it sounds like a grown man that smokes cigars 3 times a day.
What are they?
Some kind of sensors, I think.
Anyway, everybody in Eternia is about to get ready for this big festival celebration. They hint that it's supposed to be Christmas or inspired by Christmas in one of the many scenes of people just awkwardly talking for like half a minute, and then the conversation just awkwardly stops, and then the rest of the scene plays out.
It reminds me of how we used to get ready for Christmas at this time of year.
Christmas? What's that? An Earth holiday?
A very special Earth holiday.
Meanwhile, He-Man and Man-at-Arms are working on this rocket that's supposed to spy on Skeletor. They say that it's supposed to have stealth abilities, even though, granted, there's a lot of spy technology that is like this, but I just find it funny. Giant rocket that's spitting fire and is flying overhead, probably making lots of loud noises, supposed to be a stealth spying device of some kind. Then that wacky little rapscallion Orko ends up getting into the ship for a closer look, accidentally flips a switch, entire thing takes off. Then they chase after him, trying to save him, but it goes into warp speed or whatever, and he ends up traveling to another dimension. So, meanwhile, the Eternia crew, in their subplot for the first half of the thing, they're trying to figure out a way to get Orko back. Meanwhile, Orko lands on planet Earth and comes across two human kids that are just sort of in the middle of the woods, like in a snowbank somewhere, and he saves them from an avalanche. And just like you'd expect from something like this, one of these like weird old 80s cartoons, you have these fantastical, whimsical characters from a fantasy land interacting with kids, and they just kind of casually accept the fact that there's this basically just intergalactic creature talking to them.
And what are you doing out here alone in the snow anyway?
Getting a Christmas tree.
A what?
A Christmas tree. Until we got lost.
Maybe it's just me, because this is something I had to watch for a video years ago, but the entire time this scene was playing out with Orko talking to the kids, I was just imagining the scene playing out like it did in the Christmas tree.
Help me, Pappy, help me.
The reason it kept reminding me of that is because not only do you have a little boy and a little girl out in the middle of a snowbank somewhere, and it seems like they're going to possibly get injured, but these kids are a little bit creepy. Not as creepy as the kids from the Christmas tree, but I don't know, they're pretty close. They're like those weird-looking 80s Saturday morning cartoon kid characters. There's just some about them that's unnerving to me. Orko gets them somewhere safe, and they explain to Orko what Christmas is. All the while, we keep jumping back and forth between He-Man and the rest of the Eternia crew, trying to figure out a way to get Orko back. And he's talking to the kids, and the kids, you know, they're explaining to him what Christmas is. They explain the nativity and the birth of baby Jesus and Santa Claus.
And the three wise men followed the star until they finally reached Bethlehem.
Ah, what a beautiful story. But what about the gifts? You said there were gifts at Christmas.
That's the fun part. Let's tell them about Santa Claus.
So the way they have to get Orko back is they have to get some kind of special crystal that's on another planet, and so they manage to get them, but of course there's a treacherous journey along the way. They end up on this abandoned planet that has these monsters that they call, like, monster beasts or beast monsters, something like that.
The Beast Monster.
Either way, whatever they call it, it's incredibly redundant sounding. I mean, seriously, it's like saying you want to go get a burger sandwich. Either way, halfway through the special, they end up bringing Orko back, and they take the two kids with them, and the kids are now along for this adventure. And, well, you also have these giant robot creatures that they encounter that are supposed to be bad guys. Was this their way of trying to copy Transformers? Because I don't think Hasbro made this show. I think this was Mattel that was connected to He-Man. I know Hasbro did Transformers, so I was just like, was this their way of trying to cash in on the whole robots that transform thing? Like, was this them trying to make that sweet, sweet Transformers money? All the while that's going on, you have Skeletor and Hordak, and they're brought in by their supreme leader, Horde Prime, and he tells them that gosh dang Christmas spirit is getting in the way, so you know he needs them to stop them from bringing Christmas spirit to their land, to their world.
The arrival of the spirit of Christmas on Eternia may threaten my rule. Don't need any more goodwill and brotherhood on that planet.
You know, sometimes you just gotta sit back and enjoy really, really over-the-top 80s villains. I mean, yeah, it's nice to have villains that have proper motivation and all, but shit, dude. They just want to stop Christmas from bringing joy to the world because they're just that evil. Skeletor and Hordak are sent on this mission, and they don't get along. They're arguing with each other. They're the ones that want to prove themselves to Horde Prime, and they're trying to outdo each other. So, you know, once the kids are brought to Eternia, and there's this god-awful Christmas song that they sing.
Love and caring, peaceful bliss, joys of sharing, happiness.
As Skeletor shows up and kidnaps the two kids, then he's shot out of the sky by Hordak because Hordak wants to prove himself to Horde Prime, and he's not going to let Skeletor win this time. So Skeletor, the two kids, and this stupid robot dog, because when the kids and Orko were put into Skeletor and his team's helicopter, spaceship, or whatever,
What's going on?
they're saved by a couple of these knockoff Mega Man robot characters called the Manchines.
Come on, let's get you out of there.
But how? The window's got bars.
They don't call me Cutter for nothing. Watch.
But before Skeletor puts them on this like smaller flying device and is shot out of the sky, the kids take this little puppy robot Manchine with them. It's like you'd expect from an 80s cartoon. It's really just a giant excuse to sell a bunch of shit. I mean, it is a Christmas special after all.
Oh, look, a Manchine puppy. He's so cute.
Then we get to the best part of the special, which is Skeletor having to take care of these kids. Because he tries being a bad guy at first. He tries like, oh, you get moving, you little brats. And then they're like, please, mister, it's cold out here. Because they don't have heavier jackets. So what does Skeletor do? He uses his magical staff to give them heavier jackets so that they can make it through the heavy snow.
Now get moving, you two, before Hordak comes back.
I'm sorry, mister, but we're so cold.
Oh, blast it.
Oh, I'm warm again.
There's even a part where the kids want to take the robot dog with them, but he's like, no, leave it to die. He doesn't say that, but he says, leave it or whatever. And then they're like, please, mister, it's the Christmas spirit. And then he goes, oh, okay. And he reluctantly picks up the dog and carries it with him. It is so funny.
I don't know what's coming over me. But whatever it is, I don't like it.
Eventually, Hordak and even Horde Prime show up, but He-Man and She-Ra also show up to try and protect the kids and also Skeletor, because Skeletor, like I said, he finds his heart that day, and he's not going to let Hordak destroy the kids, and we get one of the greatest lines in the entire special.
I don't know what's happening to me, but I must save the children.
I have nothing to say. That's too good. Just hearing Skeletor say, I must do it, I must save the children. There's just something about that it's too good. There's a big fight scene where He-Man and She-Ra are constantly, throwing around these giant robots or whatever, trying to save Skeletor and the kids. And ultimately, they defeat Hordak and Horde Prime, and everybody's talking to each other, and we get my second favorite line, which comes from He-Man, continuing with that awkward pause and weird delivery that's all throughout the special. You have Skeletor say like,
He saved you?
Yes, I guess I did. I wish I knew why. I don't think I feel well.
Well, I think you're feeling the Christmas spirit, Skeletor. It makes you feel good.
I fucking love that line. It's so awkwardly delivered. It's like I don't know why they have these weird pauses in between. I don't know if this is like a style thing or if this was just like status quo in the 80s for Saturday morning cartoons and shit, but either way, it made it unintentionally hilarious. So they teleport the kids back to their parents, and I couldn't help but notice that the dad looks kind of like Bob Hoskins' Mario in animated form.
Now, Alicia, I don't know where you got those things, whatever they are, but it is bedtime.
I mean, that or Ron Jeremy, take your pick. And the special ends with, I don't know if this was a regular thing in He-Man and She-Ra. Maybe it was, but you have like a little PSA moment where they're addressing the audience about the lesson we've learned today. And they're talking about, the Christmas spirit and, it's all about family and friends and being there with your loved ones, and presents are nice, but really it's all about the Christmas spirit, Skeletor. It makes you feel good.
It's a season of love and joy and caring.
And presents.
Presents are nice, Orko, but Christmas means much more than that.
I know, Adam. Christmas is a time of peace and caring and happiness.
So overall, even if you're not familiar with He-Man and She-Ra, I'd highly recommend checking out this special. This special is amazingly bad. It's so weird. I feel like people who grew up with He-Man and She-Ra, they probably like it, they probably enjoy it ironically, but I mean, there's probably some unironic factor, maybe if you grew up with it. But I feel like even if you didn't watch He-Man and She-Ra like I did, this is absolutely hilarious. This is such a weird, bizarre product of its time. I mean, the animation, there's a couple of hiccups here and there, but I mean, it's an 80s cartoon, so a lot of that kind of stuff happens, I guess. But, you know, the voice acting, hilariously weird. You know, the weird pauses, I could not get enough of that. The story itself, it's like, it really does feel like at the end of the day, they were like, they still had to find a way to promote new shit. They had to promote new toys. So that's why you got the Kmart Transformer GoBot things, and you had the Mansheens, these like knockoff Mega Man looking characters, and the robot dog, just so that way they could sell more toys to kids. I enjoyed it mostly ironically, but still, I got a huge kick out of this. There's just so much about this that's entertainingly bad. But again, maybe I'd like to hear people say that they grew up with He-Man, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. I'd like to hear people say if they like this ironically or unironically, because I don't know, maybe if you did grow up with He-Man, maybe it would be a little bit more easy to follow. But I mean, for me, who just kind of had a general understanding of He-Man, didn't really like watch any previous material outside of, you know, Masters of the Universe, which that movie sucks. It fucking basically doesn't count. If I were to compare this to something else I did a video on, I feel like this would sort of be in the same category as that Brave knockoff that felt more like a Frozen knockoff. For anyone that remembers when I reviewed this, it was, what was that called? Fairy Tale Christmas. It's sort of on that level. It's like, it's not good, but there's a lot of ironic factor to it where it's like, all right, it's entertaining in a kind of so bad it's good way. Not as much as, say, something like Rhapsody Street Kids or The Christmas Tree. I'd say those are really fucking bad, and there's a lot more hilariousness based on how bad they are, like with the animation being shitty and the voice acting being particularly bad and peculiar a lot of the time. This and Fairy Tale Christmas, they have aspects of that, but they're nowhere as fucking weird and out there as those were. But yeah, I feel like this is definitely one of those animated Christmas things where it's like, if you watch it to make fun of it, I think you could definitely get a lot of enjoyment out of it in that way. But anyways, we have just one video left for Blockbusters this year. We're going to be looking at the remake of Snow Day, which was one of the, I think that was the first Christmas movie we ever reviewed for Blockbuster show. It was definitely one of them for sure. But yeah, I had no idea that they remade Snow Day until like the beginning of the year. Someone told me and it was like, they did? And it turns out it was made 2 years ago. So yeah, who knows? Considering I reviewed another Nickelodeon movie earlier this year with Good Burger 2, which was another follow-up to a movie we previously reviewed, who knows? Let's see if this one's a little bit better. I saw the ratings weren't too high, so I feel like even if you liked Snow Day mostly for nostalgia reasons, kind of like I did, well, we're just going to have to wait and see until we get to that one. But until then, guys, I'm Adam Sykes of the Blockbuster Show, and we will see you guys in the next video.
It's a Christmas spirit, Skeletor. It makes you feel good. It's like, yeah. Skeletor once again did his trademark.